We'll bring the birthright citizenship case to the Supreme Court, and I'm with Elena Kagan. The courtroom fell into a stunned silence as a new chapter in American legal history was declared before the nation's eyes. It was evident from the moment John Sauer stepped forward that he had come armed with carefully curated talking points and the full ideological weight of Trump's legal team behind him. He stood with the confidence of someone who believed he could twist legal precedent into submission and reframe the long-standing interpretation of the 14th Amendment. His voice was steady as he began arguing that the children of undocumented immigrants were never intended to be covered by birthright citizenship. He tried to wrap this notion in the language of sovereignty, security, and constitutional originalism, but it took less than 2 minutes for Representative Jasmine Crockett to see through the thin veneer of legal respectability Sauer tried to project, and once she saw it, she didn't hesitate. She tore it apart with surgical precision. Crockett waited until Sauer had fully exhausted his points, then rose from her seat like a seasoned litigator ready for cross-examination. There was no hesitation, no wasted movements. Her eyes bore into Sauer as she began, not with emotion, but with hard facts. She traced the legislative history of the 14th Amendment, citing speeches from the Reconstruction era where its framers made it clear that its protections applied broadly and universally to those born in the United States. She referenced the landmark 1898 Supreme Court decision United States v. Wonkimark, in which the court ruled that a child born in the U.S. to foreign parents is still a citizen under the Constitution. Crockett didn't just mention the case, she made it the foundation of her argument, tying it directly to the moral and legal obligations America must uphold. Sauer tried to counter by suggesting that modern circumstances, particularly the undocumented status of certain parents, should exempt their children from automatic citizenship. Crockett raised an eyebrow. The Constitution doesn't evolve based on fear, she said. It holds its ground when the powerful attempt to strip the powerless of their rights. Her words landed with weight and finality. The courtroom fell quiet, except for the rhythmic sound of journalists scribbling notes. Crockett wasn't just participating in the debate, she was leading it. Then she delivered a rhetorical question that left Sauer speechless. Are we so afraid of children born in our hospitals, raised in our neighborhoods, educated in our schools, that we are ready to abandon the very clause that defines our democratic promise? Sauer's response faltered. He attempted to shift blame to immigration loopholes and administrative chaos, but Crockett didn't let him dodge the heart of the matter. She reminded everyone that administrative issues can be reformed, but constitutional rights are not bargaining chips, they are the bedrock of American democracy. As Sauer's position crumbled under Crockett's relentless dismantling, the representative made a bold and unexpected turn that electrified the room. She declared her intention to take the battle beyond the current courtroom and to the highest judicial body in the land. We are not done here, she said with conviction. We will take this to the Supreme Court. I am with Elena Kagan, I am with the Constitution, and I am with every child born on American soil who deserves the rights promised by this nation. The mention of Justice Kagan was not a casual nod. It was a strategic and symbolic gesture that conveyed a deeper message. Justice Kagan, known for her sharp intellect and balanced legal reasoning, has long been seen as a voice for constitutional fidelity and justice untainted by ideology. By aligning herself with Kagan, Crockett was drawing a line between law and partisanship, between fact and fearmongering. She was saying that this fight would not be dictated by politics but by principle, and in doing so, she raised the stakes from a courtroom argument to a nationwide legal reckoning. Outside the courtroom, the ramifications were immediate. News outlets scrambled to replay the footage. Legal scholars began dissecting her performance in real time, marveling at her ability to transform a procedural hearing into a historic flashpoint. Civil rights groups issued statements of support, lauding Crockett for taking a stand on an issue that has quietly haunted America's legal system for years. But what made her stand out wasn't just her legal prowess, it was the clarity of her moral compass. She wasn't speaking in hypotheticals or appealing to abstractions. She was talking about real families, real children, and a real promise made by the 14th Amendment. She introduced testimonies from immigrant families, presenting written affidavits and personal letters from parents terrified that their children's citizenship could be ripped away by political gamesmanship. One letter came from a mother in Houston, whose daughter had just turned 7. She was born here, the mother wrote. She sings the national anthem at school. She wants to be a firefighter. How can someone tell her she doesn't belong? Crockett read these words aloud with emotion but never with sentimentality. Her voice stayed steady, her focus unwavering. She was bringing these stories into the courtroom not for sympathy, but for justice. Crockett emphasized that this wasn't about changing the Constitution, it was about stopping others from distorting it. She warned that undermining birthright citizenship would create a subclass of stateless children who would grow up in the only country they've ever known, yet without recognition or rights. What happens when a child born here is denied access to education, healthcare, and legal protection? She asked. We create ghosts, children who exist but are invisible under the law. That's not just unconstitutional, it's inhumane. Her point cut through any remaining doubt. She explained how the erosion of birthright citizenship would lead to a bureaucratic nightmare, a nation forced to investigate the lineage of every baby born within its borders, evaluating the legal status of parents before issuing a birth certificate. That's not America, she said. That's the path of countries that trade liberty for paranoia. Even her critics found it hard to argue against the dystopian scenario she laid out. It was not just a warning, it was a forecast of where the country might go if voices like Sauer's prevailed. Sauer made one final attempt to assert his case, suggesting that modern threats require modern interpretations. Crockett shook her head. You don't defend democracy by weakening its principles, she said. You don't protect a nation by denying its children their rights. She closed her argument by quoting Frederick Douglass, the life of the nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful, and virtuous. Her eyes met Sauer's one last time. If we allow dishonesty to guide our constitutional interpretation, then we betray the very nation we claim to defend. As she concluded, the judge thanked both parties but offered no immediate ruling, yet it was clear who had won the day in the court of public opinion. Crockett left the courtroom flanked by reporters and supporters. Her name began trending on social media. Editorials praised her courage, and most importantly, families who had long felt voiceless suddenly felt that someone in power had spoken for them, not with pity, but with fierce, unapologetic advocacy. The days that followed saw a surge of legal and civic mobilization. Congressional allies reached out to collaborate on legislative strategies. Advocacy groups began drafting amicus briefs in preparation for the Supreme Court case Crockett had promised. Even some moderate conservatives admitted that the legal argument in favor of birthright citizenship was far stronger than they had acknowledged. Crockett had not just changed minds, she had changed the direction of the debate. Crockett's vision wasn't just legalistic, it was aspirational. She spoke about America as a nation defined not by exclusion, but by inclusion, a nation whose strength lies in its ability to embrace those born under its flag, regardless of their parent status. She reminded everyone that the 14th Amendment was born out of a period of profound national reckoning, the Civil War, and that it was designed to prevent future generations from repeating the mistakes of exclusion and oppression. We forget that birthright citizenship was a shield for formerly enslaved people and their children, she said. To take it away now would be to return to a time when your existence in this country was not determined by where you were born, but by who deemed you worthy. Her call to action was not subtle. She called upon her colleagues, her constituents, and the public to rise up in defense of the Constitution. Don't wait until it's your child being questioned, your rights under review. The moment to act is now. This fight belongs to all of us. She made it clear that this was only the beginning, and the road to the Supreme Court would be long, complex, and fierce, but absolutely necessary. Crockett's decision to align with Justice Kagan was both tactical and symbolic. She knew that any successful case before the court would require building a coalition not only of justices but of public sentiment, and in invoking Kagan, she signaled that this would not be a lonely fight, but one rooted in judicial intellect and constitutional loyalty. She knew that Kagan's influence among the moderate bloc of the court would be critical. It was a clarion call for reason, not reaction. In the end, Crockett didn't just destroy John Sauer's argument. She turned the entire discussion on its head and redefined the narrative around birthright citizenship. She brought legal history, lived experience, and moral authority to bear on a debate that has been too often hijacked by fear and misinformation. And she left the courtroom not just as a representative of her district, but as a national figure prepared to carry the torch of constitutional justice into the highest court in the land. If you believe in standing up for every child born under the stars and stripes, if you believe in fighting for the Constitution as it was written and intended, not as it is distorted by partisan agenda, then this is your cause, too. Jasmine Crockett made it clear, this is about more than one case. It's about who we are as a nation and who we are willing to leave behind. So let's stay informed, stay united, and prepare for the battles ahead. If this video opened your eyes and moved your spirit, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter in this fight for justice. Your voice matters, and together, we'll make it heard.